Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Anna Vey. Anna Vey's bomb drop is July of 2019. Her date of marriage is 2006. She says that she doesn't know the contact and energy types, but Anna Vey, I know that you do know what they are. She says, I'm not familiar with them. And I think that's because there's been some confusion on this in the past on interpreting them. But Anna Vey, you definitely have a boomerang. And that is because you have regular contact. When you look at contact, we're going to look at the frequency, and that's it, to determine contact type. If you want to look at contact style, that's where the term clinging comes in. We don't have other types, like we could have a type mean, angry, or aloof. I think it would just get too confusing and too down into the minutia to give everybody all these things. Please rate yours down there. So he's not clinging, or he's not quite clinging, but he has regular contact. And so he's not an off and on like was described before. And energy level previously was stated as a low energy wallower, which he could be unless the dynamics have changed. So let's look. She says he stayed and we tried until March of 2021. He may have started replay only then. That's true. He might have only started replay and only then, because she wasn't sure about the bomb drop initially. We have July of 2019. We have a whole year and a half, almost close to a little more than a year and a half before he moved out. So during that time, we know they're in the anti-room or the train station, but haven't boarded the train possibly. Some of them board that train while still living at home. But you have had the bomb drop. So we have the message that something's going on. Replay, they're on the train goes. Okay, so you're right, he may not have. He may have started replay only then. He had a long distance emotional affair that I think didn't work out. He's in the apartment 4 days and nights working and is at home parenting for 3 days. I stay upstairs and away on those days. He's silent on his days away, but more communicative on his days at home. Now, this is why he's a boomerang. If you are an off and on, you might hear from them once every 3 months or so. And he's home. Just you stay away, but he's home. If you were an off and on, you wouldn't have this interchange where you're both in the same residence at all. It's not about whether he tries to initiate a communication with you. They stay away. Now, if they are somebody who lives at home, which this is almost part-time, but not quite. But if you have an at-home MLCer, instead of saying contact type, we actually have a designation that says at-home MLCer, because we don't know what contact type they would be if they were gone. He's more communicative when he's at home. He vents his stress to me then too. He still likes my attention, tells jokes and little things that happen to him. He's gradually been able to bear short things. Oh, hear short, that makes more sense. To hear short things, I tell him too. No touch. We have dinner together with our daughter, who's 11, 1 day a week. He offers me dinner to eat it upstairs on the other days too sometimes. Or he asks me to join them to eat ice cream. He seems fine. He only really monsters horribly about my Lyme disease, from which I take that he's still in crisis. I'm not aware that there is an alienator. I'd like your view. We miss him so much. Due to the finances and Lyme disease, I can't move. Should I write him? Should I tell him about my growth with some truth darts maybe? How should I proceed? Let's look at this. Bomb drop was 2019. And so we're 3 years in, but also you had that year and a half. And so I agree with you that when we say 3 to upwards of 7, let's say that he's still earlier in the crisis than most people who have a bomb drop and leave soon, within the first 6 months or so, leave. So yeah, I would say that you're still in the early days, which, oh gosh, I know that sucks when it's really been 3 years since bomb drop and that you've known something was heavy in your marriage or your relationship. So I want you to continue on. You don't need to write him. You have communication with him. If you feel that he looks at things that you write, then you can do that. But I don't think that's necessary, and I don't want him to feel pressure either. He likes your attention. That's clinging territory. I'm not saying he's clinging, but I'm saying he's so much not an off and on that when you have the spectrum, and remember, it's just a spectrum. It's a single line, distant, close. In the middle, you have, okay, here's the border of off and on and boomerang. Here's the border of clinging and regular boomerang. He's much closer to the clinging border than to the off and on border because he likes the attention. He tells jokes with you. He can be somewhat relaxed around you. Little things that happen to him, he talks about that. He is starting to be able to listen. Dinners together, if you can get it to one more dinner together or going out to ice cream, that's great. You don't have to. I want him to have the space. Even more, I want him to see you as healed or healing, detached, and choosing joy. So rather than thinking about what's going on with him and what's he doing and that you miss him, I don't want you to tell him about your growth. I want him to see it. And what does growth look like? That's, I think, what's really key here is what does a person's growth look like? It looks like joy. It looks like joy. And if you're showing joy and then you're begging and pleading, the joy isn't authentic. It looks like you can be self-sufficient. Now, how self-sufficient can you be with your Lyme disease? I don't know. So I want you self-sufficient emotionally so that he doesn't feel the burden of that piece of it. Emotional self-sufficiency is detachment. It's what can you do? Due to finances in Lyme disease, you can't move. What can you do with your Lyme disease? Can you go out sometimes and enjoy yourself? What can you do for your pleasure is the real question here. Does it need to be at home? Is there gardening you can do? I'm not saying as a chore. I'm saying what kind of things give you pleasure and joy as a hobby that you can do that are they'll help with your self-development. They'll help with your mindfulness. Because what I want is him to be seeing that you are a joy. You're a joy to be around. And I want more of that. But even if he didn't want more of that, it's like, I'm not burdened. And if he's not burdened, he can continue forward marching his journey at a solid rate, at a good pace. Because the more burdened you are, the slower you go. And I think that's going to be some of the key. He monsters because of your disease, because he feels burdened. And that doesn't make it your fault. It's Lyme disease. I mean, whose fault is it other than the deer tick? But he needs to feel like he's safe being there, but also safe not being there. Safe getting space, like he can. And he's constantly being pulled back for those few days. It's good. I like this arrangement. Apartment 4 days a night and home parenting for 3 days. I like that. It's great for your daughter. And that you're staying upstairs. But when he does see you, I just want you to be happy and joyous. I want you to be light. Like you are a sparkle dancing. But as long as that's part of you, that's authentic also. Okay, so that's what I want you to work on. Think about the things that you can do and what was it that he fell in love with? Not just things that are, well, he fell in love with me because I'm practical and I don't spend a lot. I'm thinking of Chuck and me. I'm practical and I don't spend. It's not real fireworks kind of things, right? What are the things that are just how his face, think in the beginning, would light up and the limerence that he would think about you? What was those key things? Not the things that are like, oh, those are the things that are going to annoy him later in life because, we like, oh, isn't it cute how she does that? And that's the thing that annoys us the most later on when limerence wears off. What are the things that are really inspiring about you? And have you lost them? Lyme disease takes a big toll. So I want you to look into yourself and see what you can bring of you, of the joy that is you, and bring it out. Because that's what I want him to be seeing. I don't want you to tell him about it. I want him to just see it coming through you. And that means you're going to have to practice being that. You're going to act as if, I've been talking about that a bunch lately, but you're acting as if you're already there. That's the faking it till you make it kind of thing. What is it like to be there? Imagine the world where not even him in it too, but not even, but where you are joy. And what do you act like when you're joy? Then now pretend that you're there now. Put it to your imagination. Okay. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see everybody in the next question.